The House now comes to Government Order of the Day number 1.
Holidays Amendment Bill, interrupted debate on first reading.
The next speaker, as I understand it, is from the Green Party, Keith Locke.
Mr Speaker, the Green Party is opposed to the Holidays Amendment Bill, along with our opposition to the Employment Relations Amendment Bill that passed its first reading last week. Together, these two bills represent a major attack on workers and on their trade unions. Kate Wilkinson, the Minister of Labour, said in her opening speech in this debate that the bill before us, the Holidays Amendment Bill, will, quote, improve the balance of fairness, end quote, between employers and employees. But the Green Party believes that the balance is actually being tipped strongly against workers. I think we can look at the various provisions in this bill to prove that assertion. For example, the sick leave provision. Kate Wilkinson says that the proposal will allow employers to request proof of sickness for 1 day's absence, quote, without first having reasonable grounds to suspect that the sick leave is not genuine, end quote. That is, she's explicitly saying that an employer doesn't need reasonable grounds, that the employer can be, in effect, unreasonable to require a medical certificate for any reason, however unreasonable. It may be that the employer just wants to encourage workers to stay on the job even if they get sick, to keep the level of the workforce up. That would be an unreasonable approach, but it would be allowed under this amendment. Or it could be to persecute a particular worker who the employer happens to want to ease out of the workforce, not because they're performing badly in their work, but perhaps they're more oriented towards the union, are active in the union, and are causing some upset because of their strong union advocacy, some upset to an anti-union employer. There are all sorts of unreasonable reasons that could be given to demand a medical certificate for 1 day's absence, and there was an interjection here, or no reason. Yes, no reason has to be provided in this situation. And already in the law we have, before this bill, an employer can demand a medical certificate for 1 day's absence if there are reasonable grounds, and the reasonable grounds are clearly that something like that an employee has taken consecutive Mondays off and is being unreasonable in that respect, may be not really sick on those days. So there is already a provision for reasonable behaviour by employers and employees in dealing with this matter. Now, the result of asking for a medical certificate for 1 day's absence is that workers will tend to stay at work even when they're sick, because they won't want to go through all the hassle of taking a day off and then having to go off to a doctor if they can get an appointment, etc., etc. And by staying on the job sick, they're likely to infect other workmates. It can be a health problem. And what the problem is too, there's 3 problems with going off to the doctor when you're sick for 1 day, perhaps with a stomach bug, perhaps with a cold, is that it's actually against good medical advice. That the doctor doesn't want you to get out of bed and struggle through the cold and the rain, sit in a waiting room for an hour. It only makes you sicker. Secondly, there's a problem in getting an appointment with a doctor. When the Green Party did a sort of a snap survey, phoned up 40 doctors, only 12 of them could provide an appointment in that particular day. So that's a problem. And then there's the problem of when you're sitting around in the waiting room, you spread sickness to the other patients unnecessarily if you've just got a temporary stomach bug or cold. So that's a huge problem for workers and even for good relations in the workplace and the process of work in the workplace. The second proposal in this bill is providing an ability for workers and employers to arrange the selling off of one of the fourth week of the 4-week statutory holidays. First out, say, what does this say about our society? We're in a digital age where the work process is becoming much more efficient. All sorts of labour-saving devices in terms of the production process. Surely we should be moving more towards a leisure society. It was 170 years ago when Samuel Parnell went on strike for the 8-hour day. Now many workers often work more than that 8 hours, and surely now we can have a decent level of annual leave. We can have everyone taking this 4 weeks annual leave. And it's not as if we're ahead of the pack internationally on annual leave. I looked at some of the major countries in Europe. Germany has 6 weeks annual leave, Italy 5.5 weeks, France 5 weeks, Spain 4.5 weeks, we have 4 weeks. Why reduce that 4 weeks down to 3 weeks for some workers? Surely we should be encouraging everyone to take their full entitlement. It's good for them, good for their health, good for their mental health, good for their families, good for their communities. It means they can engage in a whole lot of other activities outside of the workforce. And look at the people who are most likely to trade their holidays. They're exactly the sorts of people who need that fourth holiday the most. They're generally poorer people who'll do it just for the money, even though they need a holiday. They're usually people from bigger families and people from bigger families need the fourth week for family time. They're people who often happen to work long hours already. Mr. Speaker, I can't even hear myself think with the continuous interjections.
Order. The member has made a point about the interjections across the floor. They should be related. Yep. Rear and succinct they should be. It's a standing. It's a Speaker's ruling 61.5 if members want to look at it. Yep. And especially when this member's sitting adjacent. It's very difficult for the member to speak. Keith Locke.
Thank you. Yeah, it's often people who already work very long hours, more likely to work overtime. These are the people who will be pressured into selling the fourth week of their statutory holidays. People are shift workers who need the fourth week. They'll be pressured in this direction. People in manual jobs will be more likely to be forced to sell off their holidays. People who work in strenuous jobs that need the fourth week. People who are more stressed already. People in non-unionised workplaces where the employers have a way, even though it's supposed to be voluntary, have a way of putting pressure on workers. There's an expectation that they will sell off their holidays. And once these holidays are sold off by a certain proportion of the workforce, there will be an expectation that in order to continue the way the employer is operating, that proportion of the workforce will be required in effect to sell off their fourth week. Another problem with this bill is the provision to transfer one or another of the existing 11 statutory holidays to another day, and the argument is perhaps it's more culturally or religiously appropriate to have another day for someone from a non-Christian religion, for example. But the great thing about us all having common holidays as at present is that it does enable families to get together, communities to get together. It does mean that those days are quiet days. We don't want to destroy that, to destroy the community and family togetherness. If we're going to allow for other religious holidays, it would be good perhaps to add to our statutory holidays. We only have 11 at the moment. Some other countries have more than that. and perhaps have one or two optional holidays in addition to the present holidays. So I might want to take St Patrick's Day as someone with a little bit of Irish heritage, but these additional statutory holidays not be at the expense of existing statutory holidays that we all so value. And we aren't just puppets to be sort of pushed around.